Man, have you guys ever noticed that every time that we feel slightly, even a little bit behind in our lives, our first instinct is to just blow the whole thing up. Start over, flip over the game board, we're deleting social media, we're making a massive to-do list, and we're trying to force a whole new personality just overnight. Next day, new me. Now I'm here to say stop doing that. That's not starting over. That's just panicking and jumping on a grenade for no reason. Like low-key, like if you're in your 20s and because of the constant noise that you see online, the second that you hit a rough patch in your life or feel like you're doubting yourself, you probably feel like an overwhelming urge to just hit that big red panic button. You feel a slight breeze of turbulence, maybe some wind blows you in one direction, and instead of just riding it out and raging against the storm per se, or making small adjustments, you completely turn around. You say like, oh, wait a minute, the wind is going this way. I gotta go this way. I gotta completely recalibrate everything because of one impulse. And at that point, you change your entire frame. You change your methodology and the way that you live your life and the way you do things. You change your routine. You change your goals. And then, 3 weeks goes by and then you're sitting there and you're wondering why you're completely exhausted and you're like back at square one. You might even be behind square one. Who knows? And first off, you gotta stop snipping away at your core self, at the true tenets that make you you. When most guys decide to reinvent their life, they go way too far. They chemically change everything about their life. And that's admirable, but you sit there and you think starting over means snipping away at your genuine personality, and it's not true. People in this situation, they try to turn into this cold, unbothered, hyper productivity driven robot that wakes up at 4 a.m. and splashes expensive water in their face, and they lock in, they never talk to their friends, and they treat life like it's a long spreadsheet that they got to fill out. And while that's motivating, and I'm sure that feels good when you get those accomplishments and you'll definitely make some productivity, it never lasts because it's not real. You end up killing off the best parts of who you are, the true chemical reactions that happen in your brain. You end up siphoning them off, you trade them in for something that's just fake and it's synthetic. And listen, bro, I totally get it. Like, I've been there. I know what it's like to swing back and forth in the pendulum, back and forth. One moment, you're this chill, nice guy who doesn't take anything too seriously, and then the next one, you turn into this hyper intense, try-hard guy who's all stressed out and worked up about everything in every second of his day. And you don't need to be on either extreme. The actual goal is learning to thread the needle between those two things. If you have two ends of your personality, you can actually blend the things you like about both things together and build a perspective in a life that you really respect. You get to keep your genuine personality, your humor, your chill nature, the things that make you happy, and the things that make you driven, but you just dial up the effort on the specific things that actually deserve your passion, that actually deserve your time of day. And reinvention is not about changing how you feel or pretending that you don't care about stuff. In my opinion, it's actually just simply about changing what you do. It's the actual brass tacks of what you get done. And for me, at least, this is what day one actually looks like. If you're standing at a crossroads right now with decisions you want to make, and you genuinely need to reset your trajectory and pull back this slingshot in a different direction, you gotta forget the loud announcement. That's gotta be like the most obnoxious thing. Don't post on Instagram that you're entering a new chapter, and don't write down a list of 50 new habits that you gotta force yourself to learn by tomorrow morning. That's just performative. It's not real, it's synthetic. And day one is completely quiet. It almost feels like a day zero. It's a meditative process, in my opinion. Sit in a quiet room, turn off the background noise, and silently start to take inventory of your life. And look at what's currently causing you pain. See what's making you feel confused. See what's actually harming you or detracting from the things you want to do. And then instead of doing something big and dramatic, just acknowledge them. Acknowledge it clearly without making any excuses, and just look it in the face, acknowledge it and say what it is, because that's a lot of power. And if you're slacking on your work, acknowledge it. And if you're being a bad friend, you're not living up to some expectation, acknowledge that too. And if your health is sliding and you're gaining weight or you're losing weight, whatever your goals might point towards, look at that directly and acknowledge it for what it is. And then from there, that's what planting seeds looks like. At that point, you can brainstorm what you actually want your day-to-day life to look like. And of course, without any social media, messing up what's going on in your head. And you could find out what you would genuinely want in your life and what would give you peace and and progress and happiness. And you don't need to execute all of it in one day. We're talking about day one here, but day one is for planting the seeds at ground zero in your mind so that you know where you're trying to walk. You know what direction you're walking in. It's all about trajectory. And then from there, once the seeds are actually planted in your head and you know where you're going next, you got to understand how progress actually works. Life is not, it's not partitioned into neat little isolated boxes as much as we wish it would be. It's usually a lot more messy and a lot more overlapping. So for example, I've always subscribed to the idea of like how you show up in one area of your life. It literally writes the rule book and the schematics for how you show up in every other area. There's a direct cross-domain bleed effect almost, where if you're lazy and you're flaky with your friends, that same lack of presence, that same absence, it's going to show up when you try to lock in on your career, you try to have a good day at work, you got to text your boss back. And if you fail to show up or be honest in your relationship, for example, that same mental laziness is going to bleed over into fitness, your money, your family, your work ethic. It all kind of cross-contaminates each other. And as much as it's easy to be pessimistic and say like, oh yeah, this could ruin your life, it could also prove to be a very useful tool for making it better too. Like, not for nothing, man, when you decide to lock down one area of your life and really lock in on it, like say you finally get serious about your daily work routine, like the hygiene of your work routine in your career to make better use of your time and stop procrastinating, you're going to notice something really interesting, or at least like maybe after a week of doing it. Suddenly, you might see that you start craving going back to the gym. You start maybe wanting to eat better. Maybe you want to treat people better. You start listening better when your friends talk to you. And the reason why that really happens is because you're training the underlying thought process in your life. It's not just about being a better listener. You're actually teaching yourself what it feels like to care, be present, put esteem into things. I remember I was in a therapy session a few years ago, and I told my therapist, I was like, you know what? I've been trying a lot harder at work, and I've been trying to get a promotion. I was trying to become a supervisor at the time, and I feel like I'm taking on all these extra hours at work, and I'm really working my ass off, and I would expect myself to burn out and to be more miserable. But in reality, like I felt like I had more steam for everything. It's like I was challenging myself and stretching out my work ethic, and then I was really able to see what I was able to do if I just locked in. So honestly, if you're overwhelmed and you don't really know where to start, I would just pick one thread in your life, one piece of string, and just start pulling at it. Fix the way you work, or fix the way you train, or maybe fix how you present yourself, or maybe you fix how you listen to people. Open up your mind, keep the windows open, and remove any type of filter you have, any type of synthetic feelings you might have, and watch how that single standard literally upgrades everything else around it. It's almost an automatic process. And then from there, like let's say you put together a decent amount of progress, you start to see some changes, or you start to enjoy yourself. Like you start to really feel like, oh yeah, I'm getting back in the gym. I'm getting better at work. Like I feel good. My money's good. My mental's good. My physical's good. At that point, a lot of the times you'll run into friction from people around you. And this sucks. This really sucks because I get it. If your friend is changing, you got something to say, but it's really, a lot of people have a hard time modulating this. And, the second that you start changing your actions, people in your life are going to notice because they care about you. They're paying attention. They're watching the show. And honestly, some of them are not going to like it. They're not going to approve of it, or they're going to have an opinion on it. And they're used to this old version of you. And maybe they've seen you try to start over your life 3 times before and fail. So at that point, they're planning on making slick comments. Maybe they make fun of you for trying harder, or eating differently, or not staying out as late, or not playing video games. And most guys handle this type of social friction really bad, because it's hard. It's hard to face the people you love the most and really feel like they're against what you want. They either get defensive and they start arguing, or they bug out and then burn bridges unnecessarily. And in my opinion, this is the best way to handle it. Like an absolute grounded adult is that you disarm them completely, or at least you try to. When someone makes a slick comment about you changing or trying something new, don't argue with them. There's nothing to argue about. You're not going to see eye to eye. Don't try to prove to them that this time's different. Just mirror their words back to them. Reflect on what they had to say, like communicate with them genuinely in real time. and ask them. Ask them why they feel the way that they're talking, and then just accept their response right in front of them in real time without getting rattled. It's just a statement. If a friend says, "Oh, look at you trying to be a fitness guy now. Let's see how long this lasts." You don't snap back. You don't try to defend yourself. You just say, "Yeah, I mean, I get it. I've dropped the ball on this before, so I totally get it, bro. I'm trying my best here." And then from there, you just move on. And at that point, when you don't offer any resistance, there's really nothing for them to fight against. If you really think about it, you strip away all the drama, you keep your peace, and you let your consistency do whatever talking needs to be done. And if you fail, you just start again and the process continues. And at the end of the day, you just got to stop panicking, stop overcorrecting your life, just pick a lane, try to do your best every day, and just hold the wheel steady. At the end of the day, navigating your 20s requires only really two things. It's a clear North Star as a goal, knowing what you want, and just being realistic with yourself. So just try it out. Let me know how it goes.